there, welcome back. Today I'm talking about Richard Franklin's Roadgames, which is a film made in the early 80s in Australia. Stars Stacy Keach and Jamie Lee Curtis, and it is pretty much a Hitchcockian thriller set in a road in the Australian outback. Very much inspired by Rear Window. I mean, the cop to it is pretty much Rear Window, but on a moving truck. But it is wonderful. It's a deeply wonderful exploitation film. It's just so enjoyable. It's not quite as good as Rear Window, but it is very, very good. And one of the reasons why it's very, very good, apart from the craftsmanship or the direction of knowing when to stop and start and build tension, is the lead character played by Stacy Keach. Because he's a very eccentric character. In the first 20 minutes, as a build suspense, they've also built his character up. And he's very much an eccentric. Basically, he lives in this truck a lot of the time. Apart from motel rooms, he does go to sometimes. He's got everything set up there. He's got his little fridge. He's got his dingo dog, who's his companion he always talks to. He's got his tapes he can listen to. He's got the radio he can listen to. He plays his musical instrument as he travels. He's got everything down for what he was, but he's not a truck driver, he says. He's just driving a truck just now in the midst of many other careers he's had. So he's oddball because he's an American in Australia. He's just kind of shored up there because he travelled around the world trying to do different things, and now this is where he's at to make money. He's a truck driver. But he's kind of, he's stuck in a rut but not admitting it. But he's still finding ways to enjoy himself. He's still finding ways to be annoying to the people who employ him. He's still amusing themselves, and so he plays the harmonica. I forgot what he was playing. And he's got a whole rig with that stuff as well. He plays to classical music with harmonica accompanying him. It's really funny. And it's just a wonderful character. It's just this idea of what does a person do by themselves for days on end with no people around they know. And they're just seeing the same people travelling back and forth on the roads. So they keep on passing people they end up coming back to. I mean, it's very much, you will feel a reminiscence of Duel. And Duel's also a terrific film, but it feels very different. Duel was pretty much one guy talking to himself, and he's very normal. This is an eccentric in a truck. And he's just odd. And you're just watching him following this kind of weird character study of this guy for the first section as they build up the suspense beats. That's what you're getting with the film. It's just this sense of a guy who's just a bit odd. And within this setup, you get suspense. When it starts off, he goes to try and get a room in a motel. He gets there when the last room's taken, and it's like, okay, I'm going to lie in my truck again. Great. So he goes to sleep in his truck, and the guy who got the room, he noticed there was a girl with him. The next morning, he noticed the guy at the room, looking down as the stuff's taken out, and we know already that a murder is taking place. As he starts to, he thinks that's a bit weird, but he's not gonna. He's got a job to do. He has to drive all this meat all the way back to the other side of Australia. He has to travel along the south of Australia from one side to the other. So he's got a job to do, so he's going to do that. So he starts driving away, but he keeps on seeing this truck, the small van thing that was owned by the guy who saw at the motel. And it's just very annoying, and it just starts to play on his, mind. It's like, who is this guy? What the hell is going on here? And you just see him slowly play, and it's just this way that if you're stuck doing this kind of, and there's a job where you have no company, these things can play in your mind. And did I really see something, or did I not? I'm imagining it, am I losing my mind? Then there's reports in the radio of a murder having taken place. A serial killer on the loose. And he's just starting to get paranoid. And within that paranoia, things slowly start to happen. Like he starts to run into different people on the road. And every little interaction makes him more and more suspicious of this guy and what he's doing. Like at a certain point, he seems to be trying to bury something in the outback. And at that point, the guy notices that Stacy Keach is watching him. And it starts becoming a back and forth between them, what they're going to do, what's going on. Is this guy trying to play with Stacy Keach just to mess with him, or does he have a more sinister plan ahead? And it's like you're watching this, trying to figure out, okay, what's Stacy Keach character going to do, and what's the other guy going to do to mess with him? And it's really enjoyable because you're never quite sure where it's going to go, because both of them are really eccentric and really weird, and both of them, and Stacy Keach's character is capable of making many bad decisions and saying the wrong thing at the wrong time that makes himself look really suspicious. Into this mix comes Jamie Lee Curtis as another American in the outback. She's hitchhiking. Turns out her mother's died and her father's shacked up with this woman who she calls a whore. And she's as interested in this story as she's is in the truck with Keach, and she sees these weird things happening as well. She sees him being obsessed by it. She becomes really interested in it as well, and she wants to investigate it too because it seems really interesting. And you just watch them starting to get into this idea of what is going on. But she's also looking at him thinking, you're a bit odd. And he's looking at her thinking, is her story real? And everything starts to the kind of mind games between them go on without it being too forced. It's always like the thing in the back of your mind more than actually accusing anybody. It's just like something that's like, have I gone crazy about something odd about you and things like that. And these are both people who are outsiders in the outback. Everyone else is Australian there, apart from those two. So they are like strangers in a strange land. Even though they've both been in the area, they've both been in Australia for a bit, they both are, because of accents, strangers. And that's just what's wonderful about it. It's just this sense of continual tension, continual weirdness, because these two characters can play off each other and be sarcastic to each other and have innuendo and weirdness, and it's just it's just delightful just watching actors having fun with each other. And and Keach plays off a lot of different people throughout the film, because he starts out alone. I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis comes into it like halfway through the film. She's not in it from the start. She's only in it for like 25 minutes, really, compared to the rest of the film. So she's on the cover, but it's really a Stacy Keach film. And he has great scenes with everybody, and it's just this sense of the guy who's probably too smart for his own good. He can just say the wrong thing, and he's just too smart for his own good, and he is getting more and more paranoid. He is wondering if life's just setting him up for he's heading for a fall of his own making. And it just becomes this kind of weird paranoia as he kind of slowly loses his place and starts to wonder if he's going mad, and then just a slow escalation of craziness within him. And it's just wonderful to watch. It's just really delightful. See, I'm trying not to spoil it though. I'm trying, because it's a film you should try and see without knowing that much about the film. And there's lots of nice surprises, lots of really interesting interactions. Like, everything I've said is like the first 40 minutes. I'm not going like too far into it intentionally. It's like because you have to bring over who Jamie Lee Curtis' character is because she's on the poster and in the trailers. But if you look at the trailers do not represent the film. The film is much more light-hearted and much more funny and eccentric, and it is about these just interesting characters interacting. But it is so well directed. I mean, it's so well written because all the characters are very distinctive, and the setup is just slowly building, and the direction is very careful not to overdo it at the start. It's just slow details a building, then you pull back, and you have a bit more slow detail, then you pull back. It's just a slow escalation of threat throughout. It's building. But then it pulls back and stops to give you a breather, then add a couple of things verbally that might tickle your mind, like, oh, that could be that instead. And then it builds again and builds again. It's just that sense of a really well-crafted suspense movie. There's also kind of a comedy. And there's a story about a paranoid guy having reason to be paranoid. It's just that kind of really well-made film that isn't made that often anymore, and it's a real shame because this is a really good example of it. It's just like, this is how you make a suspense movie. It just works. It's one of those films that just works. Everything about it works. They cast the right people, the right level of budget for what they were doing as well. I mean, the only thing with the budget is apparently they ran low at the end and had to cut one or two little bits at the end that the director was annoyed by because he says it explained more detailed why certain things happened. And you do feel at the end it does kind of come to a climax pretty quick compared to the pace of the rest of the film. But that's a minor flaw in what is a very enjoyable film. A film that I would highly recommend. It's just a wonderful film. So that's all I'm going to say about it. Just go see Roadgames. It's great.